All right, so my garden is called Jubilee Healing Garden, and I'm located in Victoria, BC. My name's Alwyn Rutherford. So I'm interested in how landscapes can help improve mental health and help people heal. And where better to promote healing than at a hospital? So my garden is located at the Royal Jubilee Hospital here in Victoria. And it's just across the parking lot from the BC Cancer Outpatient Treatment Center. So you can see right here on the map. And right now it's mainly lawn and scrubby vegetation. And Bowker Creek, which is one of Victoria's main watersheds, runs through the site on a diagonal. And there's also a helicopter pad here to the southeast. And the rest of the site is surrounded by these residential blocks and then just a big open field of public land. So here are some pictures from my first site visit. I noticed that people enter the site from a nearby dead-end road and from the main parking lot of the hospital. Bowker Creek right here, pretty much at this spot is a glorified ditch. There's not a lot going on in terms of riparian vegetation, so I also saw an opportunity to enhance that zone at the same time as achieving human needs. And I noticed these beautiful yellow willows across the site that I thought I could incorporate into my design. So the issues I really wanted to focus on were the experience of cancer patients and their families at the facility. And I started doing some research and I found that the family and friends of cancer patients experience a lot of stress, grief, and depression during the process of diagnosis and treatment. And I also found that 95% of hospital garden visitors are actually not the patients, but the loved ones of the patients and also hospital staff, because they really need a place to go and find refuge and quiet and nature while their family members are going through this process. So I also found in my research that the hospital strategic plan includes enhancing the stream at Bowker Creek and creating more green space around the hospital. So my project fits in well. And they're also planning to move this helipad on top of a different building. So luckily tree height won't be an issue in the future. So my design statement is to create a garden that promotes healing for the families and loved ones of cancer patients. And the primary means of healing will be to reduce stress by creating a restorative environment. So in order to do this, I wanted to create safety and privacy for people when they're going through difficult moments. I also found that people want a variety of open and enclosed spaces in accordance with prospect refuge theory. And they also feel that a sense of choice is taken away from them during the medical process. So I wanted to give that back by providing a lot of places to sit and a variety of choice in the garden. And I also wanted to create this sense of restorativeness and escape. So for the first issue, the need for privacy and alone time, I created these alcoves placed throughout the garden. So you can see that someone's inside, but not clearly see them. So there's a sense of privacy and also a sense of still being connected to the larger whole of the garden. So I settled on a screen made out of upright wood pieces after a few different iterations of the design. And I put them throughout the garden in different environments so people have a choice of where they can spend time. For my second issue, enticing people to enter the site and making it easy to find their way around, I wanted to have a figure-8 circulation pattern with the option to take a longer path through the site or a shorter path just around the central pond. And I wanted to have a bright open entryway. It ended up being filled with Yoshino cherry trees to attract people's attention in spring. And then the third issue, giving people a sense of escape and getting away from the hospital world. So the solution to this was creating multi-sensory experiences with layered plantings and a boardwalk that leads to a woodland section that's tucked away just across the stream that has naturalistic vegetation. So people feel like they've escaped the hospital and they're in nature. So my plan went through a variety of iterations with these different features. Here, I was just trying to figure out the circulation pattern, where the alcoves should be, and the entrance format. And then in these, I was figuring out how to interface the site with the parking lot and then what form the path should take. So here's my final design. I settled on an open entryway here that leads to the parking lot and the nearby road. There's a central pond with lines through it that echo the shape of Bowker Creek that are made from aquatic vegetation and a central boardwalk. And there are alcoves placed throughout the garden. You can see one here in the woodland section, here in this perennial area, and then here at the entranceway. So people have a choice of where to sit. So in section, this is also shown these 3 distinct zones, the entryway zone here, which has Japanese maples, and then the pond section that's surrounded by grass and perennials. And on the east side of the site, the woodland crossing the stream and these little alcoves. So here's a little bit from my plant palette. So what I have is lush trees in the entryway to attract people. Then these textured grasses and perennials in the pond, and they're meant to stimulate the sense of sight, touch, and sound, and also attract birds and pollinators that will be fascinating to visitors. And then in the woodland, I have plants that enhance riparian habitat, filter water, and also provide this refreshing sense of being in nature. In my second section, you can see this woodland section. I have these boardwalks overlooking the stream, and then in the center, one of these shady alcoves. And at the far end of the site, these tall cedars and willows anchor the eastern boundary, and they also block the view of nearby houses. So I think this perspective sums up the project and what I hope to achieve. Here, you're arriving at the pond area from the woodland after taking your walk through the forested area. And you see a canopy of these beautiful cherry blossoms, a view of water, tall grasses and reeds. There's a shady lawn here on the left that you can sit on if you prefer, or there's a choice of 3 different alcoves with different experiences if you want to sit, reflect, and gather your thoughts. And ultimately, I wanted to create a space to be together with loved ones, potentially make difficult decisions, and ultimately find a sense of refuge during a really difficult time. Thanks.